Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining Synthetic Intelligence Forum Online. My name is Vic, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our session on advanced analytics in banking. This is the second of our sessions on advanced analytics in banking. If you haven't had the opportunity to look at our first session, please do so. The recording is already available, so make sure you take a look at that. Very happy to be joined today by thought leaders from the industry representing three different leading financial institutions in Canada to share their insights and their foresight about the future of advanced analytics, but also how we got here, the past, and also what's going on in the present. Before we go into that panel discussion, a couple of quick items. We know that the reason we had two back-to-back sessions on advanced analytics in banking is because I know some of the folks in Synthetic Intelligence Forum know this, but for those that don't know this already, the Synthetic Intelligence Forum has a lot of members who come from the financial services industry. And before the pandemic, when we used to convene in-person events on premise, we've had a number of really interesting conversations, presentations, panel discussions, meetings of the mind about this subject. So we're very happy that now we're able to do so online. Also, we've done similar sessions on more broadly beyond banking, but on financial services, brokerages, insurances, and the like. So we've done sessions on fintech as well. So we hope to continue staying focused on this theme. And so very soon we'll be bringing back additional topics related not just to banking, but more broadly in the financial services space as well. I also want to quickly note a few sessions that we have coming up. So the next week, so we've had 5 back-to-back panel discussions, including this one. So we're going to be switching formats a little bit. And the next session we're going to have will be a fireside chat, which will be a presentation followed by a moderated Q&A. And that's going to focus on Project Pensive, using AI to increase human agency. This is a presentation that will be given by Ron Bodkin, the VP of AI Engineering and the Chief Information Officer at the Vector Institute, and also the engineering lead at the Schwartz-Reisman Institute for Technology and Society. And then the week after that, we're going to have another very interesting fireside chat where we're going to have a conversation on the role of AI in the achievement of sustainable development goals. This will be with Ricardo Vinuesa from the KTH, Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden. So just stay tuned for these sessions, add them to your calendar, and please remember to join us. So without further ado, I think it's time for us to get ready and start with our session for today. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Synthetic Intelligence Forum Online. My name is Vic, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our session on advanced analytics in banking. I'm very happy to be joined by colleagues from the banking sector who are going to share their insights and their foresight about the world of advanced analytics in banking. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stream Diana, Raha, and Mona, who are our industry colleagues in the banking space and who work very closely with data science and advanced analytics and artificial intelligence and related technologies. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves. So Diana, I'm going to pass it to you. Please tell us a little bit about your role and how it relates to advanced analytics in the banking context. Welcome.
Thank you. So hi, I am Diana. So I'm an analytics manager at TD. I've been with TD for about 3 years now. And during my tenure with TD, I've had the opportunity to work in the advanced analytics space, especially building out predictive models and the upselling and the cross-selling initiatives. Also, recently, I've been involved in initiatives around customer engagement. And another thing I'd like to mention here is that TD is highly invested in colleague development and growth. And as a part of that, we have streams called roadmaps, wherein roadmaps are a space where you go in, you research, you find out, you try to find some actionable insights. And as a part of that, my peers and I have developed a semi-supervised learning package for the bank to see if we can help the bank reduce some costs when it comes to labeling comments and things like that. So that's about me. Over to you, Vic.
Thank you, Diana. And I'd like to ask Raha the same question. Over to you, Raha.
Thank you. Thank you, Vic, for having me here. Very excited about this opportunity. I'm Raha Afkari, and I'm a Director of Advanced Analytics at Scotiabank. I support various business partners, specifically digital marketing, enterprise marketing, and HR, where we are building analytical solutions to enhance our customer experience and drive value. Within the marketing world specifically, the analytical solution we build is vary from building data products and data assets to automate pipelines and build a self-serve suite of products for our business partners to manage their portfolio. But also what we do, providing insights to marketing team and building predictive models to offer them personalized messages and personal advice and messages to our customer.
Thank you, Raha, and Mona. The same question to you.
Thank you, Vic. Thank you for having me here. Very great opportunity. I'm Senior Manager of Fraud Model Risk Management at BMO. I lead and manage banking fraud model team to provide oversight, monitoring, and reporting on fraud model risk in both US and Canada, while we are considering, of course, corporate policy and fraud governance frameworks and so on. We are dealing with a specific machine learning model to predict the potential fraud risk of customer activities through online shopping when they go buy stuff online through merchants, and or online banking when customer log into their account, bill payment, deposit checks, or opening the new account application. Through all of this process, there are specific models to assess the likelihood of the fraud. And in my previous role as a senior manager of advanced analytics, I was also dealing with some advanced analytics in order to improve our client experience and mitigate the risk, and to ensure that there are effective controls in which we use natural language processing. To ensure that there are, control around different processes across the bank.
Thank you, Mona. That's great. So, the field of AI and advanced analytics and data science is growing every day, and we hear about amazing advances. We also hear about a lot of interesting applications, creative applications of these technologies in the banking context. So, Dana, I'd like to start with you and ask the question that tell us a little bit about what are some of the most exciting developments in your professional opinion as it relates to the field of advanced analytics in banking.
Thank you for the question, Vic. That's an interesting question. So I'll talk about a few things that the bank has recently started using it for their, for many of their processes. So one of the things that obviously comes to everybody's mind is natural language processing. Banks have seen the success that it has gained outside of the fintech industry, and they have seen and believe in it now. And they have realized that they have a huge wealth of data when it comes to text data, customer comments, and they want to bring out actionable insights from it. And so NLP is one thing that bank is kind of absorbing it into their infrastructure and using it for bigger purposes and for bigger initiatives. So that'll be my first one. The next one, which I think is very interesting, is the whole computer vision piece, along with obviously deep learning algorithms like CNN, convolution neural networks. So basically, it could be a breakthrough in the insurance sector. Think about auto insurance. If you could just classify an accident that has happened, you look at the pictures of the car and you can classify, saying that this is a total loss or this is a repairable accident, and you can just immediately start processing the claims or whatnot, and this could bring huge savings in terms of time, resources. It could be quite revolutionary. I don't know if banks are already doing it, but I think there are thoughts and people are thinking about it. And the third thing I'd like to mention would be the whole subject and study around uplift modeling. I think any companies, banks that own products are heavily invested in propensity models. But I think uplift modeling, or they'll basically point out customers, identify customers that actually need a offer to convert, rather than just and not propensity model would identify customers who would convert anyway as well. So by doing that, what you would end up doing is, you could make huge savings in cost. And the other thing you could do is, if you want to keep the expenditure same, you could actually get better offers and have a higher conversion rate. So these are the three things that I think can make a huge difference to the banking industry.
Thank you. That's very interesting. Diana, you talked a little bit about on the technology side, but also on the specific use cases and applications. Mona, same question for you. What, in your professional opinion, are the most exciting developments in the context of advanced analytics in banking?
Yeah, thank you, Vic. And I agree with Diana. There are different AI applications around banking. What I see these days, banks are moving towards is especially across digital banking. So, for example, in risk management and fraud, one is detecting risk and minimizing fraudulent activities in mobile app and online banking. AI technology actually can scan through the transactional data, detect the irregular user behavior pattern. The model actually monitors user interaction in web and mobile app by looking at typing speed, device angle, or mouse movement, and hundreds of other behavioral patterns to identify if this is legitimate user or this is automated automated bot, or this is fraudulent behavior. Or for online shopping, what we see these days is there are some AI model which can help evaluate risk level of each online transaction, even in the real time, and based on that risk level, set up a proper client authentication and send one-time password or OTP to the customer to ensure that yes, this is the legitimate customer and that transaction can go through. This is actually what I mentioned in my word, but also around the bank, there are a lot AI-powered models such as chatbots. What we see here and we hear about conversational banking to provide services to customers, or image processing, as Diana mentioned. So which we use it for insurance or for depositing a check. We have invested a lot in network analysis for cybersecurity and AML. And of course, there are a lot of models in lending, credit assessment, trading, and investment decisions. These are the models that we are heavily have in production. But there are some models that I see these days, as I said, bank is moving towards that, which is the NLP, which we actually use the customer complaints to ensure, we are investigating customer experience through, analyzing their complaints and doing the sentiment analysis, doing the topic modeling. And all of this will give us the insight of, how well bank is doing, what needs to be improved, is there enough control around the, risk that we have in the bank.
Thank you, Mona. And Raha, the same question for you as well.
Perfect. So my colleagues touch on a lot of good points and a lot of things that they're offering or they share. Also, we do at Scotiabank as well, specifically around the work I have done and marketing. Marketing was the pioneer to use analytics as a result of our customer experience and customer expectation and changing the market and industry specifically. However, analytics has outgrown the traditional space, as everyone else has mentioned. Now is being utilized within middle office and back office, and some of the area we within Scotiabank are also touching is around operation, technology, and HR, which traditionally may not be top of mind. For instance, when pandemic started, everybody started going to work from home, so there was a lot of pressure on a technology team how they can enable employees to work from home. So Scotiabank has started looking into how they can smooth the process or help the employees to do a lot of their data pulling and doing a lot of analytics within that technology platform. So there has been a lot of effort put on a technology, looking at specific use cases around HR. Some of the work we are doing, how we can help our employees, how we can improve some of the processes we have, and also enabling our employees to be a more data-driven culture as well. We've been having a number of use cases to help our employees to also understand how they can be a little bit more data-driven from the perspective. So we build the use cases and a platform to offer our frontline employees with a number of programs to refer our customers or offer our customers with personalized messages. And I think, as Mona mentioned, there is a lot of work or greater use of analytics across like operations, like predicting customer risk and likelihood to default with a great accuracy. We are using AI and machine learning to predict and prevent fraud and automatically detecting and reacting to malicious or suspicious behavior. And that also comes from the digital marketing work that we are doing, understanding how we can do tagging and understanding what our customers are doing. So we'll be able to protect them as the fraudulent activity is coming. So that would be on a little bit more on a technology and advanced analytics side. But one thing I wanted to raise, there has been a lot of focus on the retail banking as well. But I would say that the commercial and business banking are also other growing segment that worth analytical investment. Retail banking probably would have been a little bit easier to do some analytics, but our commercial and business banking also customers are part of our vision to enable our customers and providing them with the personalized messages as we are moving forward.
Thank you, Raha. And I think each of the panelists very excellently shared their perspectives on opportunities in the context of technology as well as use cases. But now let's look at it from another perspective. Let's talk about business leaders, executives in banks. With respect to the rollout of advanced analytics in the banking context, what are some important limitations or challenges of advanced analytics that you think leaders and executives in banks need to be aware of? So Mona, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, sure. So as we all know, there are a few limitations. We are all aware of that. One of them is computing power. AI algorithm with huge amount of data behind that requires extensive computer power. Some machine learnings and deep learning method demands number of cores, GPUs to work efficiently. They require supercomputer computing power. So that this is why that these days, with having cloud computing and, parallel processing system, developers actually can, work more effectively towards, AI modeling and so on. But using cloud computing in bank brings its own challenges, like, the cost that it's going to have for the bank, data privacy and security. It requires new technology system, which may or may not be, applicable with the legacy system in the bank or the existing bank's core technology. Another limitation, in my opinion, could be the data backbone. The main factor of all models are based on, the availability of data and the resources to train them. Having a centralized data with a good quality in our work, for example, with the fraud flag, which is the labeled data, is a key to every good, analysis and modeling. So what we call as a garbage in, garbage out. So without a centralized data backbone, it is practically impossible to do a good analysis and generate an, intelligence recommendation or offer at the right moment. So I see that as a big limitation. And the last limitation which I have in my mind is that this is the last but not least, definitely, knowing AI as a black box. So this is what scares everybody. So not being able to interpret and explain AI specifically for deep learning methods, it is a limitation and it is challenging for the bank because of all the regulation that banks is dealing with. The issue here is the unknown nature of, how deep learning model actually predicts this output. What is the specific algorithm behind the convolutional neural nets? Or what is the specific algorithm behind the LSTM that we are using for natural language processing to predict, for example, the next topic? And why we are using it, and what happened behind the scenes. This is not clear. And this is the type of question that as a developer, you need to have the answer ready. You need to have a specific model documentation, step by step, clearly mention that what's going on, what is the theory, what is the statistic, why it has been chosen, because model validation and governance team requires that to be aligned with all the guidelines that we have in the banking industry. So I see these three as the main limitation for that.
Thank you, Mona. And Raha, the same question for you.
Yeah, of course. So that's a really quick question. I think we all know that there's a lot of limitation as we are moving forward and moving towards the more AI and machine learning. Some of the things that it's probably one of the main questions I personally ask when I'm trying to build a solution or deploy a solution. Example is like where the data is stored, what's the data quality looks like, how can we deploy the model, and potentially the impact of on that to time to market and customer experience. So the project planning, as you're building that solution and you want to deploy it, you have to keep that in mind. So I like to echo what Mona said. And so when we look at the bank in general, there's a lot of legacy platforms that was built probably I don't know, years ago, which can be very difficult to fully integrate to the new platform and open sources that we have today. So with the continuous change of the analytical platform and these open sources, it's becoming a lot more challenging to merge these together, and also upskilling and continuously upskilling our data scientists and DevOps team. Our technology team also requires specific skill sets and understanding of some of this platform for data scientists and analytical AI analytics programs. So what we are trying to do is there are individuals that they may have a good understanding of legacy platform, but also our newer generation of the data scientists. How can we combine and knowledge share of these programs? And also, Scotiabank recently have launched the global AI platform, which provides like a faster insight, and its investment in that platform really enable us to continue to drive that transformation. So this platform helps with computation power. So our data scientists don't need to run their models on their laptops anymore. They can go and build their models on these platforms, and also deploy the models using MenIO and a number of other platforms to deploy their models. So it has becoming a little bit easier to build these models and deploy them faster to get a better understanding of our customers. The other thing I was going to share is the data quality and data management. We have, in a bank, we have millions of dollars, those transaction data, those log into the online banking and all that stuff. There's a lot of data that we have to process through. So quality management of this data, quality of the data is becoming very important. So we, for instance, within my team specifically, we have a group that treat data as a product and an asset. So before we build a model, we do like a full analysis of where the data sits, what's the quality of the data looks like, how can we build this process to make sure that the model we are providing or building it has meet the requirements across our policy teams, compliance team, model validation team, and so forth. So there's a lot of protocols and playbooks are being built constantly to support that good quality, to increase efficiency and offering customers tailored message.
Thank you, Raha. That's great. And Diana, may I ask you to close us out on this question?
Yeah, I think Mona and Raha pretty much covered it all. I think they talked about governance issues, privacy issues, computing issues, data quality management. So yes, all of this could be, these are things we're growing in and will help us towards better AI adoptions once we overturn them from being limitations to opportunities. And one thing that will really help is as banks move into cloud computing and MLOps, I think all of these things will become more streamlined, processes will become more efficient, and the adoption of advanced analytics will become more and more common within the different segments of the bank. And the other thing I'd like to add, banks are hesitant when it comes to using complex black box models. But thanks to creators of explainable AI, like shape packages that kind of get us a bit in that direction, where we can go in and explain to them and say why the features are important and in which way are they helping the model. So yeah, once these things become more common, I think the adoption of AI is going to become a more regular thing for the banks moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Diana. That's excellent. Raha, for the next question, I'd like you to build on something that Diana just mentioned right now about sort of opportunities in banks with these advanced analytics solutions. Given that banks do have very strict rules and regulations, we know that technology adoption, technology acceptance in banks are certainly constrained by, in many cases, governed by these strict rules and regulations. How would you advise leaders and executives in banks to think about navigating this notion of technology acceptance, specifically advanced analytics technology in a bank, recognizing that there are processes, there are structures supporting these strict rules and regulations?
Yeah, obviously, it's we want to make sure in a bank we are heavily regulated for the right reasons. We have a responsibility to safeguard our customers' data and use it for their good when offering the right products and advice to our customers. There's a number of processes in place within Scotiabank to ensure all the analytical models that we are building are reviewed and audited by model validation team. So for instance, if you are offering like any credit products, it will go through a very rigid process to make sure the model is interpretable, it's explainable, and there's no biases in a data, right? One of the things we see, just because certain behavior has happened, that doesn't mean that those behavior has to continue happening. So going through that, the data processes, what we usually do is when we build a model, there is a very detailed documentation of the models being built, where the data has been pulled from, is stored, what the model looks like, what's the stat, what is the result of it looks like, and then we go through different teams to validate those models and audit it. But prior building these models, what we do is very collaborative. We work with our privacy and compliance to align with those protocols, how to consume our data, because the data thing is about doing the right thing with the use of data, right? Considering that human impact from all the side effects and the decision that we are building to make sure that we are meeting our customers' expectations. So there is a number of process we do as we are going through the end-to-end from like data discovery to the data automation and deployment. And when we build our models at the end and deploy it, we continuously monitoring these models, and we look at the measurement and everything to make sure the model is behaving as we want.
Thank you, Raha. And Mona, I'll ask you the same question around the impact of the strict rules and regulations on the acceptance of advanced analytics in banking.
Yeah, for sure. So, of course, I agree with Raha regarding all the regulation within the bank, from the data part to the output, detailed documentation, and so on and so forth. There are actually specific regulations related to the model or any process that is known as a model in the bank. We have E23 guidelines from OSFI in Canada. We have SR 11 guidelines from Fed in US. So all of these guidelines are used to mitigate the model risk. So both Fed and OSFI acknowledge the benefit of AI solution to both customers as well as the bank, and they are agree that all banks need to use AI in their work. However, this is unclear how AI fits into the existing regulatory. I know that as Raha mentioned, so yeah, we have the documentation for the model. We make sure this is aligned with the compliance and governance, but still, some AI models, we know it as a black box. So this is hard to explain. When we want to explain decision tree or regression model, everyone are aware of that. So they know what's going on behind the scenes. Some model like LSTM or neural net using dropout in all the layers. You don't know what happened at the end. And as I said, these are the questions the governance requires the answer for. What I see these days are actually what we are moving towards is to accept the inherent uncertainty in regulating AI. There is a need to change, the approach and realize that technology like AI will continue to evolve, and no matter how comprehensive or up to date the new regulations are today, they may not fully consider the future developments. So regulators are actually more moving and working towards accepting the degree of uncertainty in specific AI models and consider a more dynamic AI regulation compared to what we had traditionally. So, and when we discuss it with governance and when we discuss it in model validation for those specific AI models, we see that flexibility a little bit more than before. However, for the other models, for the machine learning model, which is easy to explain, yes, there are certain rules, there are certain guidelines that we have to follow, making sure that we know the purpose of the model, we know what happened, where the data coming from, what was the data processing, what was the data quality, what variable was selected, and so on and so forth, and making sure the model is working at the place that is supposed to work. What I see these days, regulators actually are working more towards accepting a little bit more uncertainty in the AI world as well.
Thank you, Mona. And the same question for you, Diana.
I'm not a teacher's pet, but I can say rules are good because it helps you to have a vision of what your guardrails are, which direction not to take. Sometimes model validations or model compliance checks do take time, but it's for the good of the bank. Because if we do deploy something that is non-compliant and we do deploy it in the market and it's found out, it's a huge reputational risk to the bank. And we have seen an example of one of the major credit cards this has happened to in 2019. So yes, I think rules are good. Taking time and deploying things in the market is a good thing. I think we should have all our corners checked before we deploy anything, because we don't want any adverse customer experience. Over to you, Rick.
Thank you very much, Diana. So let's stay with you, Diana, for the next question to kick us off. And the question has to do with for folks that are new to the field of advanced analytics and are getting started with data science. Quite often they learn, whether it's from a book or from some online course or a boot camp, they learn about sort of building code in notebooks, these interactive coding notebook environments, whether it's on the cloud or whether it's local. And in many times, these learners don't have the opportunity or don't have the understanding of how code is put into production in a real enterprise setting. And you've already touched earlier on this notion of ML ops. You touched on sort of the migration to the cloud, this notion of containerizing code, virtualizing code. So Diana, can you tell us a little bit about what folks need to know who have experience in working, who can write code, they know how to use interactive notebooks to write code, but what would you tell them? What should they be watching out for when they start working in a bank and now they realize that their code might make it into production? So what are some of the things you'd like to advise them to be aware of?
So the first thing is, if you do have a DevOps team or an MLOps team, keep them in the loop right from the beginning, letting them know what you're working on, what is the kind of data you're looking at, because productionizing is not easy. We all know that, and it is extremely time consuming. So the more that parties that actually need to be involved are involved up front, the easier it will be to eventually get to that productionizing stage. A lot of things as data scientists, we might just build the model and think, hey, why can't this be productionized? But there's a whole backstory that happens where it comes to data versioning, it comes to monitoring for data drift, concept drift, checking for model degradation. When you're productionizing, all of this needs to be automated. There needs to be checks. There needs to be feedback loops in place if there's a degradation in your model. And again, along with all this, you also have the governance, the privacy, that whole aspect. So my recommendation would be to involve the tech teams as early in the project as possible, so that you know what the timelines look like and you factor this into your project, and shape your project timelines in that way. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Diana. Mona, same question to you. So in your professional judgment, what are some things that that new folks in the banking industry need to be aware of? What are the main considerations when it goes from taking code and putting it into production?
Yeah, thank you. Just to add to what Diana mentioned, it's just matter of communication with the tech team, governance, and so on. Usually, we have a middle group which works as a coordinator between developers and tech team. They have to ensure that all the relevant material have been gathered properly, they have been documented, they have also should check the model has been, approved and validated for implementation by relevant stakeholders. Then the technology team will implement the model using their own coding system and then run the test to compare the results of, performance of the model to the performance of the model that was developed to ensure the model actually has been implemented properly. It is important for us that the model is implemented, tested, what we call in UAT, user acceptance testing environment, and run in a silent mode in production for a while, and validated and regulated with proper documentation, making sure that, before using it for any, decision making in the bank, it has all components from the beginning to the end, from the data part, from the algorithm side, and from the output. And this is all, aligned with the governance and regulations. But also, we have to make sure that there is enough control in terms of, monitoring after the model is in production, making sure the model actually performs as it is supposed to. And the monitoring would be based on the impact of the model in the organization and how complicated the model would be. So it will be set up either quarterly or annual review. So then it will be monitored more frequently if it has more impact into the bank. But also there are some controls around the data quality, making sure the quality of the data stay the same, and it will be reviewed frequently. So I would say these are, in addition to what Diana mentioned, these are the things needs to be considered.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mona. And same question for you, Raha.
Yeah, so I think most of the points were covered. I would say one thing we have to keep in mind as we are going through this process is very, as you mentioned, it's very difficult to take a code from a notebook to the production. Keeping in mind that there might be some, as an individual person, like you may need some training that you need to do if you are not familiar with how some of the DevOps, if you want to understand, have a very meaningful conversation with your business partner, I would say take classes or do something that will allow you to have a better understanding. That will help you as you're moving towards this process of building your model to the automation of it and the deployment. But we'll be able to work very closely to your business partner, keeping in mind that all this work that is happening, it needs to be verified, checked, and for quality check and things like that. So what we do usually in the global AI platform, we'll be using we operationalize several customer models into its retail banking across the America. Scotiabank has presence both in Canada and Latin America. So these models have been trained through the program, and it's been running in the DevOps and the platform itself. So there is processes and protocols that has been put in place to, if there's an error coming out, either the data scientist or DevOps team will have an email that something is not working, so they will go and check it. So there's those protocols that are really helping us to keep everything in check. The platform has been evolving and it's becoming a more seamless, but everything that Mona and Diana said has been really needs to be verified before going to the deployment and being really enabled that the platforms or deployment of it to work as we expect them to do.
Great. That's excellent. Thank you for sharing those insights, Raha. So Mona, for the next question, I'd like to start with you. We know that the job market for advanced analytics talent is very strong. There's a lot of highly qualified individuals in the job market, but there's also a number of very prominent firms which are recruiting, from startups to large enterprises. We know banks are also on the lookout for top talent in this advanced analytics space. So what kind of advice would you give to job seekers in this space? And also, if you can maybe also comment a little bit more specifically on the importance of banking domain knowledge vis-a-vis pure technical knowledge as it relates to advanced analytics and being a successful candidate in a situation for in this context.
Yeah, sure. In my opinion, actually, it's very important to have the banking knowledge along with the advanced analytics skills. I always tell my team to, you should first know that what you are building, why you are building a model, why you are doing this analysis, and what value it brings to the organization, and what question actually you are trying to find the answer for. So everyone who's building the model or doing the analytics, they should understand the business well enough to do the deep dive, data investigation, to see that which will help, to select the right information. You will understand the risk and reward that it will bring to the bank. So not knowing business enough will bring bias into our work. So you may not consider all scenarios, for example, if you don't know what's going on exactly in the business. And there might be some information and logic that you miss when you are doing the analytics. So in my opinion, this is important to have both banking knowledge and advanced analytics. I can say that if you have a good advanced analytics skills, it is easy to understand and learn banking knowledge, but knowing that only having that, the machine learning or data scientist skills would not make you a good modeler in the bank, because you have to understand why you are doing it and what question you try to find the answer for. So I'll give you an example. We were working on complaints data. We wanted to build a model to extract useful information, to improve our client experience. The first question that we should know, is that how actually the complaints data are captured. What does each line of the complaints mean? So at what level we are capturing this data, and what is specific question that we try to answer, how that answer will help the organization. Then you can select, the right tools, technique, and skills to build the model and conduct advanced analysis will help your team and the organization to achieve the goals.
Thank you, Mona. Raha, the same question for you: banking knowledge and advanced analytics technical knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. I would say domain knowledge goes hand in hand with the technical skills. It's vital to understand the business needs that you have and problem you're trying to solve for, because as a data scientist, you will be that trusted advisor that your work is advancing the practice of analytics, right? And you will be that forefront of innovation, leveraging advanced analytics for that unique use cases that you're working with your business partner. So it would be very difficult to work without the understanding of the core business banking and problem statement. I'm not saying it's impossible, but they're definitely learning that you have probably a little bit of a steeper learning that someone has to take if they don't have any knowledge in a banking. But even if you don't, you will be surrounded by experts, the business line that they're working with you, right? So making sure that you're curious, asking a lot of questions, working with your team members to understand. So for instance, if you know that there is data dictionary, data definitions, really digging into that, have like number of sessions with your business partner to understand that core banking, how even the bank operates and things like that. It will be very important to give you that overview, right? FI market is constantly changing. The environment is constantly changing. So I can speak to digital marketing. There has been a lot of changes currently around customer data privacy, and the government has been intervene and put regulations. So even staying relevant with the market itself is important, depending on where you are, what type of data scientist you're going to work on, or the problem. Staying relevant is becoming very important. Understanding how the market works, not only understanding your domain, but also understanding how the market works. So you will be able to speak to all of that, because you want to be the person who's really offering that solution to your business partner as you're collaborating with them and working on your business problems.
Thank you, Raha. And Diana, I'd like to ask you the same question.
Yeah, I totally agree with both Mona and Raha. I think domain knowledge and technical skills go hand in hand, because I think domain knowledge can go a long way and help you in feature engineering. Those kind of things which are crucial for any sort of an algorithm, garbage in, garbage out. And that's where domain knowledge will help to make sure you're not putting garbage in. And the other example I'd like to give, a lot of times when we try to predict scams or things like that, again, you need domain knowledge to kind of understand what could be some of the algorithms actually ask you to put in the amount of impurity you think that your data has. That can only come from domain knowledge again. So again, I think both of these things go extremely hand in hand. One without the other isn't complete.
Thank you very much, Diana. So for the next question, Raha, I'd like to start with you. And we know that a number of think tanks and research institutes and public and private sector and academic organizations have released these advanced analytics strategy frameworks. And some of them focus more on implementation, others focus more on governance, others focus more on design. But in your mind, as a professional in the banking context, in this space, what are some of the characteristics? What should a framework for advanced analytics strategy include? You can refer to just the properties, or you can refer to a specific framework if you're interested.
Yeah, definitely. I can speak to a couple of things that we do. So we usually, for the project management, overall project management and execution, we leverage agile frameworks. So to build and execute the solution, we want to keep in mind the time to market, customer experience, and even staying close to the business line. As you heard, that understanding the business is important, but also staying close to the business line, making sure that you're solving for the right problem is even more important, right? You want to make sure as you're building your model, you're continuously asking questions like, does this align with what you're seeing is happening in your portfolio? Does this align with how the market is moving and so forth, right? So we use agile methodology and framework to do from like a discovery to deployment and so forth. For analytical framework, I would say a couple of things that I personally have leverage is the 4 stages, which is around discovery, define the problem statement, understanding what your business partner is looking for, who's your audience is, and what they're trying to solve for again, right? It becomes very important, because if you don't understand the business problem, then the model that you're building is not gonna be used and adopted by your business partner, right? But the other thing we do is technical assessment. So around data exploration, the data featuring, the model building. I would say probably a lot of people know what those stages are, but we do a lot of technical assessment around the data exploration and understanding that. Those 2 at the beginning is, I would say, is probably one of the more important parts. So that will help us to build a model. And then on the third one is the deployment, where and how we want to deploy. You heard a lot of steps that has been taken around the deployment of the model, around the governance, the working with your DevOps partners and so forth. And the last one, I said measurement. So when you're building your model, you also want to measure it and you want to enhance the model as required, right? Getting the result, how it works, and then just refer it back. So that really helps. One thing I want to emphasize on the discovery, as we're defining that problem, we also look into what type of models we want to build. Like, is it descriptive? Is it diagnostic? Is it prescriptive? Are we using NLP, predictive, and so forth? So we define that at the beginning. It doesn't mean that that's the only way, but we look at a number of different solutions and which one works well with with the problem that we are solving. So these are a few frameworks we use.
Thank you very much, Raha. That's excellent. And Diana, may I ask you the same question in terms of advanced analytics frameworks, strategy frameworks? What are some of the characteristics of the ones that you find are most useful?
The only thing I'd like to add here, or I think Mona already mentioned it, is to make our projects more agile. Especially, I think working in an agile format has been more an IT thing, but I think we slowly need to bring it over to the advanced analytics side as well, and build things out in a sprint format. Maybe the sprints, like it is in IT, does not have to be a day sprint. It could be larger sprints. But I think we need to work towards making our projects more nimble and having all the stakeholders at the table as soon as we can, right? Like right up front, so that, you don't build out everything and then you involve other stakeholders and then they have to go back to scratch. That's about it for me.
Thank you, Diana. And Mona, same question for you.
Yeah, sure. So I agree with what mentioned by my colleagues. So agile strategy and methodologies in every working that we are doing in the bank, from discovery, design, and deployment. What I would like to emphasize here is that we must connect the data strategy to analytics strategy that we have. We are exploring new data sources. It might be simple, but it helps a lot. That it helps to have a specific use cases in mind when you have the data, when you bring it on board, and to know how the data are acquired. So where the data actually coming from, is that external vendor, this is business actually owns it, or this is via open sources. So this can become an asset to monetize for banking for the business. So to continuously improve data quality, creating metadata, put in place governance and processes, and ensure that the rightful owners actually have direct access to the data. So all of this data strategy will help us, and then we can establish the data assets, which we have it in our business, and making sure that we are ready to leverage advanced analytics and big data in our organization.
Thank you very much, Mona, for that. So, at the very beginning of the panel discussion, we had started by talking about breakthrough developments and rapid progress in the field of advanced analytics in the context of banking. But one of the challenges this brings is just how quickly things are happening. The field is changing so rapidly. There's new developments we keep hearing about, rapid advance, rapid progress. So I'd like to start, Diana, by asking you is, how do you stay up to date? How do you stay current with the latest and greatest? Because it seems like boiling the ocean. What's some of your sources? What's some of your strategies for really staying on top of the game?
Reading a lot of paper from new RIPs. I think a lot of the new things that do get deployed, you would see it presented at new RIPs. So reading papers is the go-to, and then obviously you have workshops within the bank where you can go learn from people who have deployed more advanced technologies and techniques. Basically reading and researching. That's all I would say.
That's great. That's a good way to go. And Mona, the same question for you.
Yeah. So in one of the the question was actually how the banking knowledge will help with the analytical, knowledge. But we said the banking knowledge is important, but I cannot emphasize enough the value of learning and development for the team and on the individual level. So, for example, with all banks moving towards the cloud computing, which is in place right now, we need to show that our team is ready to accept the change with proper training and with the proper time. So it is important for us to proactively, look for opportunity to learn, to be up to date with everything that is going on around the world. So yes, literature review. There are a lot of online courses. There are a lot of courses in the university that you can take. You can leverage from those knowledge, and then improve your skills to be up to date with the needs as of today in the banking.
Thank you very much, Mona. And Raha, same question for you. What's some of your strategies?
Yeah, definitely. I would say reading article is one of them. I follow a number of experts on LinkedIn, so they do post on a daily basis. So just reading that through, understanding what are the things that they're looking at, what are the future changes that is coming up. There's different platforms like Medium, a couple other things that I follow. But in addition to doing it on my own, but we also establish a number of events within our immediate team and a larger analytics team that we share some of the new and relevant AI and ML topics that are coming to the market. As I say, understanding the industry is important, but understanding what are some of the new AI and ML topics is coming. The other thing is within Scotia specifically, there's an opportunity to educate our Scotiabank employees. So we are very big on data-driven culture, right? There is a number of we have like a multi-year program that has set up to upskilling everyone. So we have a lot of courses within Scotiabank that has been offered to us that we can take courses there. So it has been great to do some outside and externally, but also some stuff internally to just share those knowledges within.
Thank you very much, Raha. And what I'm happy about is that your knowledge, your collective insights are now going to benefit folks that are watching this video and will continue to watch it over time. So we're very close to the top of the hour, and there are questions in chat, but in the interest of time, I'd like to thank you for participating and sharing your insights and your excellent foresights about advanced analytics in the banking context. And because the field is changing so quickly, the invitation's open. We'd love to have you back in a couple of months to give us an updated lay of the land. But without further ado, thank you so much, each of you, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great
Bye.